With even a moderate collection, you can easily lose track of the pieces of vinyl that we shell out all this cash for. So doing a scavenger hunt through that collection can sometimes get you re-inspired or just help you remember that you even have that record. This is my vinyl tag for 2023. Happy New Year to the vinyl community and beyond. This is my first video for 2023, and it makes sense to make it my vinyl tag for 2023. I really like vinyl tags, VC, so please do more of them. First off, it makes it really easy to make a video, and second, I love rediscovering things in my collection based on random questions or hints or whatever you want to call them. Again, to me, it's a scavenger hunt through your collection. At least that's how I treat it. Like many others, I did one of my very first videos on the channel for last year's vinyl tag, which I actually did in April. And you know what? It's never too late to do a vinyl tag, or to make any video for that matter. So if you're even thinking about trying to jump into this, do it today. I got this list from Rob Walker, Let the Music Play. At least I think it generated from him. Rob Walker, Let the Music Play is the name of the channel. This seems to be what most folks out there are making videos for the 2023 vinyl tag are using. And I've been watching most of them, and I try to support all the people who take some time and share this with you. It's really hard to do this, so shout out to all the people who contribute one. And at one point, I really hope the VC keeps this going and people don't get tired of it, because it really is a lot of fun. I've had a blast watching all these videos come out, and I really hope more and more come out and more people do them. Again, if you're new to this, and maybe some of you out there are, people like Rob Walker will put out a list of questions like show an album from the year that you were born, and you go through your collection and you share an album from the year you were born. What's cool about this is we're all doing this from the same list of questions, and since we all have different collections and we're probably all from different age groups and everything, you're getting all these different lists and you get all these different cool ideas to go buy new vinyl or to listen to new stuff. So it's a great way to get the vinyl community going, especially for 2023. So let's get into my list. These can get kind of long, so we'll get right into it right now. Number 1 on the list is your favorite new release of 2022. This was extremely hard for me to do because there's a lot of really good records for me that came out in 2022 from some of my favorite artists, but I actually went with one that knocked it out of the park for me, and that was Say She, and the album is called Prism, and I got the gold foil, like limited gold edition, which is limited to 1,000 copies. This a beautiful gold transparent copy. You can see the label here. It looks amazing. It's listed here as dreamy disco-delic debut, but man, I could not stop listening to this record. I had it on so many times for 2022. As soon as I got it, I just couldn't stop listening to it. I had no idea who this artist was. This is actually from Karma Chief Records, which is the subsidiary label of Coal Mine Records, who also have a store called Plaid Room Records. So check out Plaid Room Records, Coal Mine Records, or Karma Chief to check out Say She. This album is awesome. You should definitely listen to Say She. So for number 2, I'm glad that it was listed a band or artist that you saw live last, because that also happened to be one of my favorite artists for 2022 that came out with a new album. So it wasn't hard for me to have to pick Say She for number 1. And now for number 2, it's The Sacred Souls. This is the last band I saw live in like 5 years, and they were amazing. I got to actually see them in Philadelphia and take some photos of the show. So I'm going to show some of the photos here while I talk about the band. But this group is awesome. If you're not aware of them, Can I Call You Rose is a great song from them. Can I See You Again, as well as Easier Said Than Done. And this is the Dinked edition, which is a super limited edition that comes from England, I think. And there is like a conglomerate of labels in England that release these Dinked editions for certain albums or artists. And this one came out with an alternate cover and the alternate splatter edition vinyl, which this splatter edition vinyl just looks amazing. This is the original cover, which is issued by Daptone Records. There's also a Vinyl Me Please version out there. There's a bunch of different versions of this record out there, but this one is the Penrose label edition, so it has the Penrose record label. Penrose is an imprint of Daptone, much like Karma Chief was an imprint of Coal Mine. Daptone has Penrose Records, which is basically like their West Coast subsidiary. And they released out this album last year, and it was awesome. This is the last band I saw live. So good. Number 3 is their first album was their best album, and I'm gonna have to go with the Mars Volta Deloused in the Comatorium. Now, I just got into the Mars Volta in 2022. I actually bought all of their albums, and I got all of the Vinyl Me Please versions. So this one is the green, it's like a goldish green, and they actually call it gold and black marble, but it looks more like a greenish black marble. It actually sounds amazing, and the cover art here is actually done by the same guy from Pink Floyd, is what I've been told. The person that helps people with Pink Floyd's cover art, and either the photographer or the designer or something like that. So I love the cover art for this. Now, I won't say truly that I think that the Mars Volta's first album is their best album. I mean, I guess I would have to say that it is. I mean, I picked it here. But to me, the Mars Volta is an odd band because I feel like they are like a concept band. I'm gonna do a video about them in the future. I feel like they just start and it just goes. It's just all one track and it just keeps going. And as you listen to every album, it's just a continuation of just them, which is pretty cool. So like, instead of it being a concept album, they're like a concept band, I guess you would say. I don't know. That sounds all really weird or odd, but whatever. I think their first album's their best albums. Number 4 is show a hat trick. Something that you have a CD, a tape, and a piece of vinyl for. So it's funny for me, and this was actually disappointing because a lot of my tapes got turned in for CDs, which then later on got turned in for vinyl. So I didn't have a lot of these hat tricks that I thought I did. I ended up with this one, which was Led Zeppelin Physical Graffiti. I have this vinyl that I just got last year from Walmart. I never owned a copy of it on vinyl, and so I picked this up last year. It's great. It sounds awesome. These are really, really nice because they give you this fake backstage pass that comes with it, which is really cool, but the actual album art and everything is all exactly identical from how you would get it in the 70s. Now here I'm going to show you are the cassettes. So you get the white one. Here's the white cassette. We have this is, I guess, cassette 1, and here is cassette 2. So you get a white one and a black one, and pretty cool there. And then here is the CD. So we've got the hat trick completed, front side of the CD and the back side. And funny story here, if you're an older person, maybe you would have known this, but I still have my wall sticker on this CD. So if anything ever happens to these CDs again, I can take it back to my local wall store and they will replace this CD for me. It is a lifetime guarantee. It says lifetime, so they need to honor this. Number 5 is show an album that starts and ends with the same letter. And I was watching the Omaha Introverts vinyl tag, and she pointed out that she didn't want to do something that ended with S. And I was like, oh yeah, S is kind of an easy one, and I ended up choosing one with an S. So Melvin Sparks. This album is his first record ever, and if you are interested at all in like awesome grooving jazz, funk, guitar stuff, this is your record, man. It has a similar band. This is a Prestige label, original Purple Prestige label album. And this album is just awesome. Came out in 1970. This has a killer lineup on it with Idris Muhammad on drums, Houston Person on sax, Leon Spencer on organ, and Melvin Sparks on guitar. And this is just awesome funk, jazz grooving stuff. This is an OG copy that I actually got this year from Germany. It was an archival edition, had never been played before. So there's original Purple labels here from the Prestige label, and I just can't get enough of this. I've played it so many times in 2022, but Sparks starts and ends with the letter S. Number 6 is an artist that was born in the same year as me that I really like. I had to choose Leon Michaels from L. Michaels Affair. We were both born in 1982, and he is the owner of Big Crown Records. He is also the previous owner of Truth and Soul Records, and goes all the way back to like the origins of Daptone and another label called Soulfire Records. L. Michaels Affair, Sounding Out the City was their first record. They've got a bunch of records out now. They actually worked with Wu-Tang Clan for a while. They were doing Wu-Tang Clan instrumental re-releases of Wu-Tang Clan's samples, and they were taking so Wu-Tang Clan was making records with samples of old funk songs. They were taking those and then making their own instrumental versions of those. So it was like real awesome, cool, updated new funk stuff. I kind of call it I guess they call it cinematic soul funk, You like think of it like if you were to think of it as like a really cool indie movie and they were going to be the funk soundtrack to it. That's what this stuff sounds like. It's really, really awesome. Check out El Michaels Affair. Number 7 is the most listened to album in 2022. Now, I mentioned a bunch of these albums so far that I've listened to a ton, but I actually already made a video of this one, of all the variants that I got for it, but I have listened to this one by far more than any, and that is the Frighteners' Always. This record is so good. If you like reggae, if you like good rock steady reggae from like the 60s, 70s era kind of style reggae, this is your jam right here. The Frighteners are part of the Daptone label. They're out of Queens, New York. This is the Queen's Aurora version of the record, and like I said, I have another video that you can check out right here where you can see all the different color variants of this record. Check them out. They're really good. Their singer passed away, but they're still going strong, and hopefully they're going to be coming out with some new stuff in 2023 and beyond, so definitely check out the Frighteners. Number 8 is the most listened to artist of 2022, and it doesn't happen to coincide with the most listened to album for me. This artist shows up on so many different records that I listen to, and that is Grant Green. I had to choose this one, Born to Be Blue. It's a new tone poet that I just got this year, and I just love Grant Green. He's such a great jazz guitar player. If you're new to jazz listening, basically just go out and get anything with Grant Green on it. He later went on to do a lot of funk stuff and jazz funk stuff, so he's got a real good groove to him, and I feel like he's really accessible for people that aren't really into jazz in the swing sense, but they might like getting into more groovy type stuff. This stuff is definitely good. This has got Ike Quebec, Sonny Clark, Sam Jones, and Louis Hayes on it. Just a real good record, Born to Be Blue from Tone Poet, Blue Note. Number 9 is Show A Band from Australia, and it's so funny because as soon as I saw that, this is immediately the band I thought of. The Bamboos. If you've never heard of the Bamboos, they are an awesome, awesome funk band from Australia. It's all instrumental funk, James Brown style, bar case style, you know, like just groovy, repetitive, instrumental funk. These guys came out around the same time as like the New Master Sounds did in like the early 2000s-ish, I think. And they were on True Thoughts label, which was a subsidiary of Ubiquity Records. Ubiquity's out of LA, and I think True Thoughts was kind of like their English subsidiary. I don't know if they were just distributed through them, and I don't know if True Thoughts is still around anymore, but if they are, you should definitely check them out. If not, definitely go buy any of the stuff from Ubiquity Records or True Thoughts. It was all really good stuff. But the Bamboos is a real sick funk band. They also played a lot with Alice Russell as well, and if you ever get a chance to listen to Alice Russell, she is also very good. Number 10, my most surprising purchase of 2022, easily, hands down, goes to the Ghetto Records box set. I did an entire video on this box set, which you can check out here as well. This box set is amazing. If you like Latin soul or Latin groove, boogaloo music, this is definitely for you. I was blown away by how good this was. I didn't think that I would like it as much as I did. I haven't gotten as much into Latin funk and soul like this kind of stuff in a long time, or at least I have never delved into it like this before, and I plan to get into a lot more of it after this. But this is from Joe Baton from his Ghetto Records label, which he spun off in the 70s after he had like a falling out with, I believe it's Fania Records or Fania Records. But yeah, if you like Eddie Palmieri, if you like any kind of Tito Puente kind of stuff or anything like that, you will love this stuff. It has so many good artists on it. Definitely go check out my full video about it if you want to see more about it. Number 11 is show an artist that you are complete on. Now, I'm complete on a lot of different artists and especially labels. I try to get complete on labels or 45s and things. I have all of these 45s, which are the first 100 Daptone 45s. I pretty much have all the Daptone 45s. But the artist that I'm complete on the most is Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings. I have all of Sharon Jones's LPs. I have every 45 that she's ever produced, including stuff that she did without the Daptone label. It's with Los Walkie Sons, which I think might actually be still the Daptone musicians, but they just put it out over in Europe or something like that. This is Soul of a Woman. This was her last album that they produced for Daptone before she passed away. I think this actually came out after she passed away, so I think they recorded it right before she passed away. This is the green edition that was released on the website right when it came out, so I think they only released 200 copies of this, and I was able to get one. I love Sharon Jones. I saw her live so many times. you should definitely go check her out on YouTube, or definitely go listen to her on Apple Music or anything like that, or go buy some vinyl from Daptone Records and get into Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings, because this is some of the greatest music ever. This is her first album, Dap Dippin' with Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings, and this was one of the first albums that ever got me into vinyl at all. This was like one of the first things that ever kicked it off for me. I thought this album came out in the 60s, as most people did when they saw it, because I mean, if you look at this, it looks like it came out in the 60s with this cover and the back cover and stuff like that, but this was her first album, and the one that we showed before was her last album. Number 12 is Show a Great Run of 3 albums, and technically, this one they didn't come out sequentially with 3 because there was a live album in between there, but it was a live album, so it technically doesn't count. So these are 3 studio albums. But I picked Bill Withers, I picked Just As I Am, Still Bill, and Justments. Now, I have the Vinyl Me Please edition of 2 of these, of Just As I Am and Justments. I have the original copy. I just got this original copy last year of Still Bill, and I got this because Mo.5 was supposed to come out with a re-release of this, and I actually had one on pre-order, and had it on pre-order up until I believe in like December of 2022, and they have yet to come out with it. And that's probably the most frustrating thing I find about Mo.5. Everybody's talking about them using digital sources or whatever. I'm like, hey man, actually ship your records. How about that? And you would have actually had this sale. Instead, I went to Discogs and paid $40 to go get this original copy, and it sounds amazing. And this is an original from 1972, and it even is the original trifold gate cover, and it's in like perfect condition. I don't think the Mo.5 would have had this trifold cover on it. Most of these that you get you don't find in this condition anymore. You just don't find this in this condition. So I had to get this original when it was out there, and I'm glad that I did, because I'd rather have this than the Mo.5 digital edition anyway. Still Bill is just a great record. This is one of my favorite records of all time. Use Me Up is one of my favorite songs. And Justments, I got this from Vinyl Me Please. I was so surprised with this record because I've never heard it before. It's one of these ones that just kind of falls by the wayside for a lot of people. It even says that on the write-up for this from Vinyl Me Please, that a lot of people forget about this record, and they do. But I'm one of them. I had never heard it before, but I think this is just a great run of 3 records from Bill Withers. We got, again, Just As I Am, Still Bill, and Justments. Number 13 is Show an 80s Soundtrack, and I'm actually very excited about this one. I have a friend of mine who is buying a lot of soundtrack records lately. He's got all kinds of crazy ones that are off the wall, so I bought one to kind of join him this year, and I got this one, which is an 80s soundtrack, The Killer Clowns from Outer Space, which is a 1988 movie. I love the cover of this. It's one of those classic 80s covers. This is all music composed by John Massari. So it's all this, it's like 80s synth music and stuff like that. But I mean, I didn't really buy it for the music, I'll be completely honest. I bought it for the fun, crazy colored vinyl. It comes in pink and blue vinyl. If you've never seen The Killer Clowns from Outer Space, you definitely got to go check it out. It has Dean Wormer in it from Animal House, and he gets turned into a killer clown as well at some point in the movie. It was along in those veins of like Critters and Gremlins and all that stuff that came out in the late 80s, so definitely go check it out. Number 14 is We Lost Them in 2022. I actually went with a producer on this one, so I went with Creed Taylor. Creed Taylor was the creator of CTI Records, and I'm a huge fan of CTI Records. He actually was a huge force in jazz. I didn't realize how many labels he worked with until after he passed away, and I read a lot about him and stuff. But if you don't know much about Creed Taylor, you should definitely go check him out on the internet. But this is one of my favorite albums ever produced by CTI, Red Clay. It has Herbie Hancock, Lenny White, Joe Henderson, Ron Carter, and it is just amazing. This is some of the greatest CTI jazz funk stuff out there. They were incorporating a lot of strings with their orchestrations at this point, and Herbie Hancock is so good on this record. I used to have a group that played Red Clay a lot. We played it all the time, and I love playing that song. Such a very awesome, funky, great song. Lenny White is such a good drummer, and this album is one of my favorite albums. So anything that Creed Taylor ever put his fingers on was really good to me, and it's upsetting that we lost him in 2022, so more people should know about him, so you should know about him. Definitely go check out Red Clay from Freddie Hubbard on CTI Records, Creed Taylor Incorporated. Number 15 is a disappointing purchase that you got in 2022, and I gotta say, this is definitely an extremely disappointing purchase. The soundtrack for Ghostbusters, this could have been my 80s soundtrack. I probably would have chosen it as my 80s soundtrack if this wasn't the worst piece of vinyl I have ever listened to in my life. It sounds like somebody recorded this off of an MP3 in a bathtub and then took that and pressed it to vinyl. Even my kids could tell that this sounded like crap when I put this on at my house. I was so disappointed because this is from Walmart. It's a white edition. I thought it would be so cool to have a white copy of Ghostbusters. My kids were super into listening to Ghostbusters. We had been watching the movie. It was just awesome. But we were listening to digital copies of it and it sounded great. And then we turned this on and it was horrible. Another thing that bothers me about it too is because the digital copies cut out some of the tracks that are some of my favorite tracks on this soundtrack, and I bought this specifically for those, and this sounds like garbage. So I need to go out and try to find a good copy of this somewhere. Maybe it's because it's pressed on white vinyl, I'm not sure, but this is awful. Definitely avoid this if you can. And just to clarify with that is the pressing of this, the Walmart pressing edition, not the soundtrack itself. I love this actual soundtrack. I love all the music on this soundtrack, but man, this pressing is horrible. Number 16 is a non-vinyl purchase, and I had to go with a cassette. I actually got this in 2022, the Beavis and Butthead Experience. If you have never heard this record, this was a compilation that came out in 1993, and it is one of the sickest compilations ever. It has Aerosmith, it has Nirvana, it has Primus, Anthrax, Beastie Boys, Run DMC, White Zombie, Sir Mix-a-Lot, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Jackal. This was one of the sickest records to come out in 1993. The Nirvana track that's on here is just balls to the wall. The Anthrax and Beastie Boys track is one of the sickest tracks on here. It's actually a combined track with Anthrax and Beastie Boys together. You should definitely get this. I was trying to find this on vinyl, but they only have a picture disc version, and I've read a lot of reviews that the picture disc sounded like crap. So I would really love for them to put out a reissue of this. Maybe if like Walmart put out a reissue of this that was just on black vinyl, just a good copy of this compilation, because it is a great compilation. I forgot how good this was, and that's why I just immediately went out and got it again on cassette. I didn't even open the cassette. I just wanted to have this as a keepsake. I do have a cassette player and could play it, but I just decided not to. I have it on digital, so I'll just play it that way, but this was definitely a very cool non-vinyl purchase for 2022. Number 17 is Found a Grail. Now, everybody's edition for what a Grail is could be different, and for me, it's just something that you think is really rare, and I think one of the greatest points is if you can find it in a really cheap or really awesome way, and I think I found something that fits that bill. I got this Pink Floyd Live at the Fillmore West bootleg at a flea market that has like thousands of just dirt records that you would never ever look at, and I sat there for like 2 hours just sifting through these records and flipped along and found this one, and I can't believe that I did because it is an extremely good copy. It's got this just orange label here. It's just a blank orange label, and I've read a few things about these on Discogs. I found the listing for this on Discogs. Apparently there was like only 500 of these pressed in like the mid 70s or late 70s. So I'm really excited to have this. This came out right around the time of Adam Heartmother. So it's recorded live at the Fillmore West when they were doing all the stuff from Adam Heartmother. So it's got like Symbol Line on it and all those different tracks from Adam Heartmother live. It sounds really good, and I got it for like $5. So I was extremely excited about this. Found a Grail. I mean, to me, this is a Grail. I think it's really cool. A bootleg of Pink Floyd. That's pretty awesome. Number 18 is have a space-themed album cover. As soon as I heard that, immediately what pops into my head is Herbie Hancock flying his spaceship through the funk atmosphere in Thrust. If you have never heard this album, this is one of the sickest Headhunters albums that there are. Herbie Hancock's Headhunters came out in 1972 or 1973, I think it was, but this album was the second album released by the band. This has Mike Clark on drums, Spanka Lee, Butterfly, just some of the sickest funk that you will ever get out there. And I mean, come on, man. You got Herbie just blasting off into space there, ready to give you all of the sick, sick funk that he's going to deliver with Paul Jackson on bass as well. Paul Jackson, Benny Maupin on bass, Mike Clark on drums. I just found a really awesome podcast that I'm going to actually link to in the description as well, talking about Mike Clark meeting Paul Jackson and stuff like that. Really, really great interview. This is an original 1974 copy. I got this at the same flea market that I got that Pink Floyd bootleg that we just showed, and I think it actually came from the same person's collection. So that person can rest assured knowing that their funk is safe with me. But this is definitely a really, really sick record. I got it for a great price, and I'm glad that I have an original. I do have a repress of this that I got like in the mid 90s, or like that's from the mid 90s that I got later. But this is definitely an awesome record to check out. If you're a fan of Herbie Hancock, or if you like any kind of funk at all, this is one of the sickest funk records ever. And Actual Proof is actual proof of that. So yeah, go check it out. So number 19 is something from the VCLT, and I gotta say I don't have anything from the VCLT, and I didn't get any gifts this year. I did get a gift card for some vinyl from my friend Frank, who I was talking about with the soundtrack stuff earlier, but I haven't cashed it in yet, so I don't have any vinyl to show from that. But if you want to send me some VCLT stuff, I'm glad to do that. I will have some VTLC stuff coming out later this year for people, so definitely stay tuned for that. And number 20 is Show an Album from 1973, and that is extremely hard for me to do because there are so many good albums from 1973 in my collection, but I decided to go with Blue Mitchell, Graffiti Blues. I absolutely love this record. It's the first record that I ever got from Blue Mitchell. I found this record before I ever heard of him doing any of the Blue Note stuff like that, and now I'm really glad that they're coming out with more stuff. They have a new modern, a new Blue Note Tone Poet that they just put out with him, and they also have some classic vinyl stuff that's coming out as well this year for Blue Mitchell, and I just love Blue Mitchell, and this stuff is really good. This is way on the funk side. This is after Blue Note, so this is on Mainstream Records. This is a really good funk record. It's got Ray Pounds on drums. I mean, seriously, the guy's name's Ray Pounds. Like, how could you not be a good drummer if your name's Ray Pounds? But it's got Joe Sample on electric piano as well. Joe Sample's really, really good if you ever get to listen to him. And this is just really good, so definitely check it out. Another great album from 1973. Once again, shout out to Rob Walker, Let the Music Play. Definitely go subscribe to his channel. I really hope the VC keeps doing this every year. We should all make more of them. I'm down for a funk or jazz tag if somebody wants to make one, or if I should get one started, definitely let me know in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe here. Don't forget to subscribe to Rob's channel in the description below. Definitely check out all the other vinyl tags that you see out there. They are really fun to do, and support everybody's channels that you can. And I'm gonna go listen to that Killer Clowns from Outer Space record and chill. I definitely want to go see what that's all about. I will see you guys on the next one.